Cheers, guys. Happy Homebrew Wednesday. This is Happy Homebrew Wednesday number 2 for me. This is Andrew from Not on Sundays Brewing, and it's time for a beer. We're in the brew shed. We've got our trusty little 3 Taverns glass. And let's get us a beer. I now know why you guys like to have the GoPros or regular camera. I understand. The angles are terrible. All right, a couple things right off the bat. Number one, it's going to take me a while to get used to just talking to a camera in an empty room, and even more so if I got somebody around like my wife inside and she hears me randomly start talking. She walks in like, what do you do? You guys make it look easy. I'm still getting used to this, so bear with me. Second of all, don't laugh at this. It's cold outside for us here in Georgia. Let's see. Now granted, it's a little late at night, so yeah, it warmed up a little bit through the day, but we don't have good cell phone coverage either. It's 30 degrees! 30 degrees! That's cold for us. I'm wearing like a down jacket and a tobacco. Anyway, cheers, guys. Happy Homebrew Wednesday. If I'm a little excited, I'm excited to be joining this community. Looking forward to meeting some of you guys, maybe even sharing some beers. I let you see the pour on that, and I poured it rough because I knew it's not fully carbonated yet. This is another one that's sitting over there in that kegerator that I am so excited to talk about, but I'm going to wait till it's fully carbonated, is ready to really, really talk about and get into what I'll be doing with this one. Cheers, fellas. My, oh my, oh my. All right, so got a couple things going on tonight. Kegging up a big ol' IPA. It's a double IPA, Imperial IPA, whatever you want to call it. I'm kind of doing this backwards, so I've already kegged that IPA. What am I talking about? So I'm going to go over a couple things here. Well, you know what? I'll let you see the footage first, and then I'll come back and talk about it. Anyway, kegged up the big ol' IPA. I also kegged up three 1-gallon jugs of a dry hopped lambic style beer. So excited to talk about what that tasted like. Just a couple experiments, never done a dry hop sour before. So pretty pumped about that. I'll show you a couple of the ways that I like to bottle small batch sours and small batch beers in general, but especially sours, because the yeast gets a little tricky because there's not a whole lot in there to carb up all your beer in the bottle. So I'll show you the trick that I like to use. It works pretty well for me. So enjoy the little bit of footage I got for that, and I'll be right back. Woo! Alright, so here we are in the kitchen, getting everything sanitized up, ready to go. We've got the 3 single-gallon dry hopped lambic style beers, kind of little experiments. We're going to bottle each of those up. One was done with Nelson Sauvin, one with Azaka, one with Mandarina Bavaria. So we're interested to see what that does to each of these little 1 gallons. We're going to bottle those, and then as you see right here, we're going to bottle up what's in this bucket. I really like doing all my IPAs and short-term things in larger buckets because they're easier to clean, more accessible, easier to dry hop. So that's what we're kegging up tonight. About ready to go on that one. We'll take a gravity reading and see how much it fell and get a final ABV on it. Alright, so knee deep in kegging up the IPA. It's a nice murky color, which one, it's because it's young. Two, I use the Conan yeast strain, which is not a spectacular flocculator, but I like my IPA. It's kind of cloudy. I think it's yummy. Although, I'm a little disappointed. Hopefully you can see that. The yeast did not perform quite to my liking. Looks like it's sitting right about 1019, 1020, which is much higher than I thought I was going to get. Finishing gravity. It's only been in the fermenter for a little over 2 weeks, which is pretty fast for the size of this beer. But in times past, I've used this Conan strain a couple different times, and it's fermented out so quickly, it's probably done. It's probably more on my side that maybe I missed a mash temperature or something of the sort that didn't get it quite as fermentable as I would have liked. So I think my starting gravity, I believe, was 1087. A finishing gravity of, let's call it, I don't know, 1019. I calculated that right before I turned this on, and that comes to 8.93, which, like I said, is a little disappointing. I was hoping it was gonna dry out down more in the 10-12 range or so and get up closer to 10% alcohol, 10.5% alcohol or so, but not worried. I did take a taste of the finished beer before I started racking it, just to make sure it didn't taste overly sweet or anything, and it doesn't. It's so big and there's enough hops in it that it bounces out really nicely. I've really gotten into more of the East Coast style, especially Northeast style big IPAs. And East Coast style IPAs in general that are a little bit sweeter, a little bit maltier, lots of tropical fruits, and that's what this is going to be. But so yeah, looking good. About to get this thing sealed up. All right, y'all, back in the kitchen. Got the IPA all kegged up and ready to go. It's already been purged and sitting out in the shed. So I'm on to the next round, which is our wee lambic friends here, lambic-like beers. So I've got my bottles, bottles, sanitizing over here. I bottle most, if not all, of my sours just because I drink them slower, they age nicely in the bottle. But what happens when you've got tiny batches like that? And you gotta bottle them. There's not really enough room for priming sugar, batch priming sugar, which is what I usually do if I'm bottling beers. I batch prime, just with the standard corn sugar or whatever it might be. What I actually do with my small batches, go back to the old trusty carbonation tabs. I drop usually four in my sours, sometimes 5 if the bottles are thicker, if I'm using a heavy duty bottle. You don't want any bottle bombs. But then what I also do is I get a little creative. It's a pain in the butt, but with these lambic style beers, these things are nearly, I think they're a year and a half old, maybe a little bit older. I freshly dry hopped them. But man, that Saccharomyces, that yeast is dead. You still got some bacteria floating around there. That's still going to be a little active, but it's not going to be quite enough to get a good carbonation. If it is, it's going to take forever. So I go to little Red Star champagne yeast. And I get a little meticulous, get a little over the top. It's a little bit of a pain, but I actually measure out how many bottles I expect to get. And measure out a certain amount of water that I rehydrate the yeast with, mix that solution up really well, and actually use a sanitized syringe to inject just the right amount of yeast in each bottle. I go off the 2 grams per 5 gallons that Michael Tonsmeyer suggests in his American Sours book. So I go off that 2 grams to 5 gallons at bottling of champagne yeast. I reduce that to my batch size, and I just go from there. So I've got everything going. The yeast is rehydrating. Gonna finish sanitizing some bottles, and then I'm gonna get my my trusty helper, my wife, to help me finish bottling this up. Cheers. All right, so we've got all that packaged up, ready to go. I've got the IPA over here. It's so chilly, I don't even need to use a fermentation chamber for this baby. Keeping it cold. Oh, sorry guys, the angles. Anyway, I don't have anything fermenting right now, and my kegerator's full. I've only got a 2 corny kegerator with 2 taps on it. So I'm going to stick that in my firm chamber, trying to keep the temperature somewhat regulated. Actually, don't want that beer to freeze, because it might actually freeze out here in the next couple nights. But super excited about that beer. I did actually pour the hydro sample and did some tasting on it, and man, I'm telling you, the passion fruit, mango, and like, gosh, almost kind of guava-ish smell on it, and it translated into the taste, but then with a couple little other tweak notes, like kind of some pomegranate, maybe? I don't know. One thing you'll learn about me, guys, I'm not a great beer taster. I love tasting beer, but I may even try to get too fancy and make myself look stupid. Sorry. Anyway, not super good at all these descriptions, but I'm telling you, tropical fruits like crazy. But then at the same time, it's got a bunch of malt to it. It's just going to be beautiful. If you have not tried the Conan yeast, which I think was made famous by Hetty Topper in Vermont, you got to try it. Pretty good attenuator, but man, I'm telling you, the fruitiness that comes out of that yeast works so well with all these citrus hops. It's unbelievable. Try it. I guarantee you Puka has. Puka NC. Anyway, so as I said in the video, I was a little disappointed it wasn't a little bigger of an IPA. I was going to use it as kind of a stepping stone to get up to the next level that I'm going. So it was kind of a practice run. But ended up at 9%. That was pretty well. Initially, I did not hit the initial gravity I wanted, the original gravity that I wanted. I wanted it to be up more around the range of actually like 0.095 or even a little bit higher. So I missed about almost a whole point. And then it didn't dry out as much as I wanted. But you know what? It's just beer. Another thing you guys will learn about me, it ain't worth stressing about beer. It's just beer. And in that same vein, I'll say this over and over and over again, and I'll probably try and make a short video just introducing myself and what I like about beer, how long I've been doing it, my setup, all that kind of stuff later. But one thing you'll know is, man, I don't take this stuff too seriously. I love good beer. I love making great beer. But man, life's too short to take something too seriously. So cheers to that. Don't take things too seriously. If you mess up, dude, it's okay. It's just beer. Now, in that same vein, I did do the 3 individual little lambics, the dry hop lambics. One was with Azaka, one was with Mandarina Bavaria, one with Nelson Sauvin. You Aussies, don't criticize me for my pronunciation here. Anyway, in bottling those up, I'll admit here, the Mandarina Bavaria, my wife was helping me bottle. She tasted it first, and I'm telling you, it was terrible. So, I mean, like, stomach bile, terrible. All the same beer. It was a lambic of sorts that I did a 6-gallon batch of. I'm going to call it a Belgian style lambic, a lambic style beer. And then I put it on an apricot puree. So that was in about a 5.5, 6-gallon batch. I broke 3 gallons out into a dry hop and bottled the rest. So it'll be interesting. Regardless, I still put it in the bottles. Who knows what's going to happen? All those bugs are still churning in there. You never know what they might turn that flavor into. We'll give it a shot. But again, in that same vein, if you make something crazy terrible, don't be afraid to admit it. It's just beer, and if you're making 100% perfect beer, you are a better man than most of us, or woman. Yum. Anyway, guys, happy Homebrew Wednesday. Thanks for sticking around with me again. Excited to be a part of this community. Oh, I do have one question. If anybody's willing to chime in, my dadgum siphon hoses, I have the hardest time keeping those things clean and debris free. And I take those things, and that's like the first thing I do after I use them. I rinse them thoroughly, put them in sanitizer, hot water. I've got 150-degree water coming out of my tap I try to hit it with. But how do you guys keep those things clean? I feel like I use them for several turns, and then I have to replace them. So, and it's not that expensive, so I'm not really super worried about it, but it's kind of a pain. How do you guys keep your siphon tubing, that kind of thing, clean? What do you do to keep that thing spotless and use after use after use? So I'd love some feedback on that. Give me a shout, leave some comments below. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you want to see more. Guys, I got a lot of projects going on I want to tell you about, but I'm going to take it slow and steady so I don't burn it out right away. Anyway, I've got to get this thing in the firm chamber. This IPA should be ready in about a week and a half. I'm going to set it and forget it and let it go. And, ooh, let it go. My boy's like, let it go. Anyway, that's another piece. If you like absolutely quiet videos with no interruption, that's probably not going to be me. I've got 3 little boys, ages 1, the oldest just turned 3, the next one's 1.5, and the other one's 6 months old. We've got a crazy house of boys. My poor wife, but she's awesome. You'll see us all around on these videos, I'm sure, at some point. But anyway, I'm rambling again. I'll make another video soon to kind of introduce myself and give you a tour around the place, maybe. I see you can see a couple of my interests and stuff back here. But at a later time. Cheers, guys. Have a great week. Have an awesome homebrew. And ease back into work. Ease back into it. Life's too short to be too stressed out, right? Cheers, guys. Have a great week. Happy Homebrew Wednesday. We'll see you later. Love watching the videos. Keep them rolling, fellas. Cheers. Labeling bottles. Labeling bottles.